Walk you through a simple yet incredibly powerful way to get your users productive with Graphistry without having to set up lots of bookmarks or learn all that much about what's available. And so the idea is with investigation automation and linking them into your existing apps is instead of telling your user to go directly to Graphistry, such as through a bookmark, what we can do is create links within their existing tools. So in this case, for example, let's say an analyst is investigating a phone number in some existing web dashboard. In this case, it's Splunk, but it could be any web tool, maybe even an email alert. When they get a result here in Splunk, let's say we did a search, we saw this phone number showing up on a bunch of events, a bunch of log lines. The idea is that we can create links that jump you right into Graphistry, right deep into in an automated investigation. Again, this could have been this link right here could have been in an email that someone's picking up. So in this case, we see that same phone number, we're going to actually get a phone 360 on it. So as an analyst, I don't have to know what automations are available. I could just click on my event and it tells me what type of things are available, like a phone or a state lookup or an account. That link did a bunch of work for me. So for example, it picked the correct template that someone set up for me. It picked the right time range. It actually filled in the phone number. And so as me as an analyst, I just kind of go in and just hit the go button. And then as that's running, the results come in, and then bam, I've gotten a bunch of data gathering done for me. In this case, for example, if I look at how the investigation worked, the first step was indeed pulling in that phone number, and everything else was doing careful expansions to pull in context around it. So I'm gonna walk you through how setting up one of these workflows works. Again, it doesn't have to be Splunk; it could be any web app. So the idea is you make an investigation as normal, except most likely, it's just a best practice, set your first step to be one of these data entry pivots where you can put in a JSON object. In this case, we're pulling out a phone and making a graph. The initial graph will be that phone. And then the trick is we're going to flag it as a template, and so instead of as a normal investigation. And so when I hit save and I go to our investigation list, we'll see that actually this shows up as a template. And so if I click on it, and if I were to go edit that template, you can see I have this ID here, and then we have a little documentation about this, but now people can use that ID to instantiate the template in different types of ways. And so I'm going to walk you through how to do this with Splunk. So in the case of Splunk, what we want is whenever we have one of these search results that has a column phone and comes from the index, this case is called Gen, we want to have a phone 360 show up. So we're going to do a couple things. It's really just two things. One is we're going to tag these events as valid for phone 360s. So I'll go to event type. And I normally would create a new event type, but I've already done that here, so we just need to find it. And so what we did on this one is any Splunk hit that matches, that's in this index and has the column phone, we're going to tag that event with as a gen phone event, hit save. And now implicitly, one of the tags on this event is now a gen phone. We can see here that event type is gen phone. Now what we can do is associate Graphistry templates with them. And so go to fields, workflow actions, create a new one. Again, I had created the workflow action ahead of time. So you see here we have both for state and a phone. And so for the phone, we can control what shows up in the title. So here we're going to see a phone 360, and then you can see that we're actually parameterized by the phone number. And that's what we did is we pulled out the Splunk column here, but the $ in the middle. And then we only want it to show up with events that actually have a value for the column phone. And what's more, we want to have that tag phone from over here from our event type. We're going to basically want to show it up wherever that event is showing up. We want to treat it as a link because we're going to link into Graphistry. Let's open it in a new window, treat it as a get. And now this is a little tricky. You can see there's like a URL here with lots of parameters. So for example, we're saying which template to use, which timestamps to use. Maybe you can even pass in a friendly name. For all that kind of stuff, just check the docs. I will have a link for that. And then, anyway, the result is now that we set up the link to use for Graphistry, now when anybody's using Splunk and they're looking at something that's a phone number, then they'll have that listed. In this case, we actually also had state data, so we also get a state 360. And so as a user, I don't really know what's going on with the automations. I just know that whenever I'm looking at a phone, I can always just kind of click the drop down and jump into Graphistry to get a bunch of good stuff. And my life is just a lot easier now. So I highly encourage you to take advantage of this. Take a second look at the video, read the docs. It's really a great way to get your users productive much more faster without as much of a learning curve.